How do I start? March and April of 2020 were probably the worst time of my life. COVID-19 put us $1 million into debt. If we grew everything and then couldn't open.
Devastating would be the word I'd use. Yeah, not good.
My grandfather. It was his life. And it was his father's life, too. Someone has to do it.
When we reopened in the middle of our busy season, we went from 0 to 100 miles an hour in a week.
It's like building an airplane that's already in the air.
Elizabeth, in about a day and a half, started curbside.
I don't know why this one's here, actually.
She was like a phenom. Just made it happen.
Hi. I think there's a very few left. There are many, many new people saying, I've never been here.
We started our garden during the pandemic when we had no idea what was happening in the world.
Yeah, they're in there.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Growing up before the internet, we were outside all the time. I'm hoping that COVID-19 has actually changed the way we are.
What an amazing film. What a tribute to your family as well. We're going to have a Q&A. We have a wonderful young lady that's going to volunteer to run the mic around if anybody has any questions. I would say please raise your hand up really high. It's going on for about 20 minutes, and I will pass it on. Would you like to ask the first question?
Okay, we love being on stage. We cannot see anybody in the audience. Oh. Does anyone have a question?
Genevieve, first of all, beautiful job, amazing. Just wondered, from the moment you got this idea, how long did it take until the film was actually done? And just what, I'm sort of thinking about how did you get the idea, how did it germinate, and then how long did it take?
Yeah, that's a great question. We did this film in 2 years, which is very short for a documentary film. I had, at festivals, other documentary filmmakers were like, wow, mine took 7, mine took 10. So we really hustled to get it out there because we felt like it was relating to COVID and we wanted the relevancy for that. It was initially my mom's idea. They wanted to create a short film because they thought that they were going to go out of business. So I went out to film a short film with a few co-workers because none of us were working in the film industry at the time, so it shut down. And then I found my editor, and my editor heard our story, and she was like, I just think this is a feature film. And the story just kept progressing. They started doing better, and so we didn't really know it was going to be a feature probably for the first 7 or 8 months of filming. We were just filming to see what we were going to get. And then as the story came to us and evolved, we started editing, and then it was a year of post-production. You're welcome.
Raise your hand if you have a question.
It's really impressive with the lights. I really can't see.
Hi, Steve. Congratulations on this whole project and for surviving
And I'm not going to say thank you for bringing us back to those dark days, but it was interesting to see it again. I wonder if you could talk about other garden centers and what they experienced and how did they get through, or did they get through?
I can also now see you all, so that's great. I'm going to pass that off to my family because they would know much more about that.
Well, so we were so wrapped up in what was going on, you know, with our illness and our family and our business, that we didn't realize until I wrote to an online gardening publication that is a trade magazine, doesn't go to the public, but it was Boston-based. And when I talked to the editor, she said, actually, every garden center in New England thought they were going out of business. It was because of the timing of the pandemic. You know, we're just about to, in March, we're growing all of our vegetables and herbs that you guys come in and you purchase in those 6-packs. Well, here's the thing, they grow really quickly and they don't last in those 6-packs very long. So if we were to plant them all up and grow them and then not be able to open, we couldn't afford the labor to do it, and then we just have to throw them all out. So pretty much most of the garden centers in New England thought that they were going out of business, basically.
So that was the early days. In talking to some of our peers in the industry, if you were able to stay open and your staff was healthy, a lot of people had one of their best years ever by the end of 2020 being in the books, which was kind of a huge shift from being concerned, we're at our weakest point, what do we do? In the very early days, it was unclear what was essential business, what was versus what was not, but in the end, a lot of people ended up doing quite well and carried that success through 2021. We were very fortunate to be a part of that, and so were others. And we appreciate the support of all the customers that made it happen.
Hi. First, I have to say there's a huge First Parish of Wayland fan club here in the audience today. But my question was, how did you manage to make it look so natural? I mean, you're filming your family members up close, and the family seems so natural and comfortable on camera, and that feels absolutely magical. How did you do that?
I actually was speaking to someone about this as they were entering in. They asked if I filmed the film or someone else did. So we initially started with professional cinematographers and friends of mine in the industry. I worked as a project manager in the industry. But they weren't that natural with them. So we filmed all the interviews with them, and we filmed some of the B-roll with other families. For some reason, I guess my family, maybe because they have media training for when they go on the news, they put on like these news type of looks. So I started filming myself, and like as a cinematographer, which I had no experience in, well, except for Waycam. There's the not to Waycam. But yeah, I started filming them, and I think just the more that you film a subject, or which in this case was my family, it's, you know, at some point it's like, my brother didn't even want to be filmed, but I would just film him anyways. And started to finally get natural. And they would say stuff too, they'd be like, oh, we would never talk about, we would never do work at home. And then I was living at home during the pandemic, and I would like be upstairs and I'd have the camera with me, and I'd be like, oh my God, they're talking about work right now. I have to go downstairs, so that's kind of how that happened, I suppose. But yeah, it was really important to me for it to really feel natural and not staged, because a lot of documentaries are really pre-scripted and acted out, and so that's why you don't always feel that authenticity.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that, because I was a musical theater person, and every time Jenna put a camera in my face, I would be like, hello! That's my background. Genevieve is a phenomenal director, and she would remind me to be natural, and then I still had trouble with it. So the whole scene with me and Conor O'Regan on the deck doing the gardening when he plays the guitar afterwards, she mic'd me and she told me that the sound wasn't turned on, that she was only getting B-roll and that she was going to put other audio behind it. And so that's how she got me naturally in that. But Tim has been on TV news a lot, and Dan is just a natural. Actually, Dan has just been in a lot of Genevieve's work because family is free.
Hello there. Great outcome on this. I have a question about the writing. It says that you were a writer, and while the conversations were clearly natural between all the parties, where did the writing begin, and what part did that play in the overall production? By the way, the narrative was just spectacular from beginning to end. I love the narrative. The arc of the story was just great.
Yeah, so I wrote it. The paper edit, which is what we call it, which is when you transcribe all the interviews and then you do a dialogue cut of the script, which is what most documentary films do, because you write in the edit. You don't always know what you're going to have unless you have a funding team behind you and it's more planned out. So yeah, the writing was a ton of work. I started writing in Wayland High School. I wrote through college. And it was probably the longest part of the entire process was writing the film, just to make sure that we were hitting the right emotional beats and delivering information at the right time. And yeah, so planning the writing took a long time. Then we actually went back and shot some B-roll of things that we didn't have, because we couldn't film some things in peak pandemic because my cinematographer was pregnant. We were just really concerned about being out in the general public. So yeah, but it was a very long writing process, for sure. I don't know if that answers your question.
This is a very nice group effort, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations, all of you, especially Genevieve. It was really very thoughtful and emotional at times. But I was wondering, Dan, how it felt to have what seemed on the film to be a major life decision for you to leave accounting and to go back to the family business. So how did that feel to kind of process that on film with your family?
I want to be pretty matter-of-fact about it, but I was told that it wasn't, I mean, I was already, at that point in time, I joined the business in 2019, so that decision had kind of already been made. But what I would say is I had made a decision, but it became very clear to me the finality of the decision in that day where Tim and Liz basically said, look, if you're here, great, we're here, but if you're not here and you're not in 100%, then we need to know, because that kind of changes our decision-making process. So, my mind had already been made up, but that was kind of what set the concrete foundation for the decision, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's just so clear to me in that moment. They were like, if you're not here, we think we should walk away. And my just initial gut reaction was, you'd be crazy to walk away right now. There's so much to do here. And just, it's seldom in my life that I felt so strongly about something, and it was just intuitively there was no other option. So, I don't know how that comes across on the film, but in person, that's really what it was like. So the decision had already been made, but you don't truly know until you know, and that was kind of that was when I definitely knew for sure.
If I could add to that, some of the Baker at that time, independent garden centers were not deemed essential. So we were forced to be closed and create an online vehicle. The head of MDAR, Mass Department of Ag Resources, was previously a small business owner on Route 9 Garden Center. And he was whispering in Charlie's ear, "Charlie, you're missing the boat. The independents need to get opened up. You can't eliminate them out of the workforce of the retail chain." So some good people at MDAR, and also just politicking, sadly, to get the independents open was a key part to helping the business along. And we didn't mean to put Dan on the spot. It was just like the whole perspective of bouncing back out of a big hole was like, wow. Because we had no idea. There was no good intel of what the trajectory of the COVID was going to be. Glad you were here, Dan.
Me too.
Yeah, I want to say as a mother, I really never wanted to pressure Dan. And I didn't want to have to ask that question, but given the situation, we had to ask it. And because we were ready to we were feeling too old to try and dig ourselves out alone. But, you know, we would have felt awful for our employees and the community and all of our customers. So I think I apologized before we asked you. And, yeah. And I was ready for the answer to go either way. The other thing that happened with Massachusetts, just so you know, politically, is that Mass flower growers actually were part of that organization, and they did they sent around a letter to all of us, basically with a beginning paragraph and an end paragraph, and then we filled in the middle, petitioning Governor Baker to be able to open. So it was a whole group effort of Massachusetts garden center owners that got us to open. I mean, we were selling plants to grow food and herbs. So, but we had no idea. We weren't really thinking about the social and physical and emotional benefits of gardening. We were more thinking about the vegetable gardening. So the rest of it, I mean, we filmed in real time, so we never knew where our story was going. This story changed from day to day to day, and then to add to Genevieve's writing, once she came up with the story, she did come back and get some traditional lines, and just transitional, lines, just to connect the story. Not a lot, because we kind of connected it. And then we didn't want to subtitle our dear friend John Meekin, who's Irish. So we had to redo some of those. And actually, you can ask more questions, but I just want to take a moment, because we forgot. Can everybody who was in the film stand up and give a little wave? We want to thank you all. Are there any more questions?
I have one more. That's all right, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Jenna, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your collaboration with the composer. It's a wonderful soundtrack. And also, if you considered music that might be more of a earthy, crunchy, bluegrass country feel, in the whole process of thinking this through?
That's the next movie, Steve.
Well, the composer is a really good friend of mine from film school. I went to film school in Europe, an international film school, so he's from Croatia. And I really admired the fact that he had such a film background. He used to be a cinematographer and writer, so he was so involved in like the story for me, and I could talk through the emotional beats so clearly to him. And it was so important to find someone that I knew really well that had a natural sound, and it was really emotional. And I guess Alyosha he's pretty classically trained, which at first, we brought in Connor O'Regan's guitar, and I think we did kind of flirt with bringing in more guitar sounds, but as we got into the script, I was like, this is really a drama. I mean, aside from the COVID scenes. It's funny, he did struggle a lot more with comedy. It definitely wasn't his go-to forte, but emotionally, he blew me away. I mean, we cut to his music in some cases. Most of the cases we locked our cut and he composed, but our editor actually asked for some of his rushes early on, just so that we could hear them to infer how we were gonna cut, and then we would kind of clean up and divvy up from there. But really lucky to work with someone who has a film background and a music background. It all just came together. So maybe bluegrass for the next one now. Bring it up a little bit.
I just want to congratulate you guys. This was an incredible effort. I think that it was such an enjoyable night. So many people that I know that couldn't make it tonight kept asking me, is this going to be streamed? Is this going to be streamed? Or can I get a DVD? And then I know Elizabeth told me that it's going to be carried at the West Newton Cinema. So I just wondered if, before everybody goes, if you could clue us all in on how other people in the community can watch this, because I know there's a ton of people who couldn't make it that would love to see this. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah, well, thank you for reminding me. So it is going to be shown at West Newton Cinema starting April 26th for 1 week, every day of the week, April 26th through May 2nd. So that is its next location. We don't know for sure the whole future of the film. If anyone has friends at Netflix, please let us know. So if you enjoyed the film, or your friends who want to come see it, I encourage them to go to West Newton Cinema. They too are a small business. We do feel like during the pandemic, small businesses got a lot of attention. We feel like that's starting to fade away again already, and people are just jumping on Amazon again and streaming at home and sitting in their living room watching things. So West Newton needs the support, and this is an indie film, and let people know that it'll be shown there. Oh, there's a Q&A on the Saturday night, April 27th. We'll be there again.
We did want to start the viewing here with Waycam because Jim Mullane and all of Waycam is so amazing for our community. Like Genevieve said, they have cameras that anybody can use that were used in the film, and the whole crew at Waycam is supreme. And we're lucky to have them in our town. And in fact, they've helped me transcribe all my old media videos of everything. They do that as a service, very value priced. So Waycam, we're lucky to have them in the neighborhood. We really wanted to start here with a kind of a fundraiser for Waycam.
Thank you. Just one last thing to the students. I have a couple here. What is your advice to them as a young filmmaker or going into television business?
There's so many journeys you can take in the film industry. There's so many sectors of the industry.
every day I'm finding a new one. Right now I'm making a video for a museum. I didn't even know that was a world, and I'm meeting that whole team of people. I think the best advice I can give you is just make movies. Just start filming stuff, even if it's on your iPhone. A lot of the early stages are with Jim's amazing equipment. A lot of the early phases of learning to be a filmmaker is just making films that make sense and convey the message that you're trying to get across. In terms of making a living in this industry, there's plenty of jobs in the film industry. Connecting up and getting on set, you know, even if you're just delivering coffee, to try and get to know all the different department heads and meet people. This industry is all about just meeting people and connections. I've not had a single interview in my entire career. So it really is just, you meet someone, you get a meeting, you get on set, you talk to someone, then you start working with that person, and then it's just an evolving beast. But it's a really fun industry. Every day is different. Every day I have a new challenge. I've shot in some really cool places. A lot of people just living flex lives, and it's definitely an interesting industry. A tough industry, but a fun industry, for sure.
I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank our tech man, Emmanuel, up in the room, and I want to thank Jim Moulin for pulling this all together, and his team at Waycam. And I want to thank you all for getting out here to a real theater and watching a movie on a big screen and laughing and enjoying our time. So thank you very much.